The twisted tale of Lacey Fletcher, a true crime documentary. Welcome to the sad story of Lacey Fletcher. We empathize with the friends and family of the victims in this case. We give you the most intriguing true crime stories, so if you are new, please subscribe. Suburban neighborhoods are often viewed as sanctuaries of safety and normalcy, where the troubles of the outside world seem distant. But behind closed doors, hidden from the gaze of neighbors, unimaginable horrors can unfold. This is the story of Lacey Fletcher, a young woman whose death was so horrifying, so grotesque, that it shocked even seasoned investigators. It is a tale of neglect, isolation, and a life tragically cut short. Prepare yourself for the unsettling details of one of the most disturbing cases of modern times. Lacey Ellen Fletcher was born on November 15, 1985, in Sauter, Louisiana. From the outside, her early years seemed ordinary enough. She grew up in a small, close-knit community, the only child of Clay and Sheila Fletcher. Described by neighbors as a quiet, polite girl, Lacey attended local schools and was known to be bright and friendly. But beneath the surface, there were signs that not everything was as it seemed. Lacey struggled with social interactions, and by the time she reached her early teens, she had been diagnosed with severe social anxiety and autism spectrum disorder. As Lacey entered her teenage years, her social anxiety intensified. The once cheerful girl became increasingly withdrawn, avoiding contact with others and spending most of her time at home. Her parents, Clay and Sheila, chose to homeschool her after she stopped attending public school in the 9th grade. From that point on, Lacey's world grew smaller and smaller, confined to the walls of her home. The isolation would only deepen in the years to come, setting the stage for the tragic events that would eventually unfold. After withdrawing from school, Lacey's contact with the outside world all but ceased. For nearly 2 decades, she lived in near total isolation, rarely if ever leaving her parents' home. Neighbors who once saw her playing outside or walking down the street began to notice that Lacey was no longer visible. Her world had shrunk to the 4 walls of her home and eventually to just one room. As the years passed, the Fletchers became increasingly reclusive. The home, once a place of warmth and family life, turned into a prison for Lacey. The details of what transpired behind those closed doors remain largely unknown. But what is clear is that Lacey was slowly disappearing from view, both figuratively and literally. It wasn't until January 3, 2022, that the horrifying reality of her life would be exposed. On that fateful day in January 2022, a 911 call was made by Sheila Fletcher. When first responders arrived at the Fletcher home, they were confronted with a scene so shocking that it defied belief. Inside the living room, on a filthy, torn-up couch, lay the emaciated body of 36-year-old Lacey Fletcher. Lacey's body was in an advanced state of decomposition, with her bones protruding through her skin. The smell of decay filled the room, and it was clear to the first responders that she had been in this position for an extended period. Let me take you back a little on the context of Lacey's family setting. Lacey Fletcher's parents, Sheila and Clay Fletcher, have been at the center of intense scrutiny following their daughter's tragic death. They lived in Sauter, Louisiana, a small town in East Feliciana Parish. The couple was well known in their community, where Sheila served as a town alderman, and Clay held a prominent position as an officer in a non-profit organization. The Fletchers were described as a quiet and reserved family. However, this exterior of normalcy contrasted sharply with the shocking conditions in which Lacey was found, leading to questions about their role in her care and well-being. Lacey, who suffered from severe physical and mental health issues, including a condition that reportedly left her unable to move, had been left sitting on a couch for years. Her death in January 2020 revealed that she had been neglected to a horrifying degree, leading to her death from severe malnutrition and infection. Investigators would later reveal that Lacey had likely been confined to that couch for at least 12 years, possibly longer. The news of Lacey Fletcher's death sent shockwaves through the community and beyond. How could something so horrific happen without anyone noticing? How could parents allow their child to waste away in such a manner? The case quickly garnered national attention, with many questioning how the system had failed Lacey and what could have been done to prevent this tragedy. Following the discovery of Lacey Fletcher's body, her parents, Clay and Sheila Fletcher, were arrested and charged with second-degree murder. During the investigation, it was revealed that Lacey had been suffering in silence for years, completely dependent on her parents for care, a care they grossly neglected to provide. Prosecutors alleged that the Fletchers had deliberately left Lacey to rot in squalor, ignoring her needs and refusing to seek medical help. The trial that followed was as shocking as the crime itself. Prosecutors presented harrowing evidence of the conditions in which Lacey was found, while the defense argued that the Fletchers were overwhelmed and lacked the necessary supports to care for their daughter. However, the jury saw through the excuses, and in October 2023, Clay and Sheila Fletcher were found guilty of second-degree murder. They were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Lacey's death ignited a fierce public outcry. How could a young woman be left to die in such conditions in the 21st century? The case led to calls for stronger protections for vulnerable adults and increased scrutiny of homeschooling regulations. It also raised important questions about the responsibilities of caregivers and the importance of community vigilance. In the wake of the tragedy, several states have introduced new legislation preventing similar cases of neglect and abuse. The tragic death of Lacey Fletcher serves as a stark reminder of the darkness that can exist behind closed doors. Her story is one of unimaginable suffering, but it is also a call to action, a plea to recognize the signs of neglect and to speak out when something is wrong. Though we cannot change the past, we can work to ensure that no one else suffers as Lacey did. May her memory serve as a beacon for change, and may her story never be forgotten. If you or someone you know is being neglected or abused, please seek help. Contact your local authorities or a trusted organization. You are not alone. If you are a true crime enthusiast, subscribe, like, and leave your comments below for this and other similar